Well, as the championship games have now come to a conclusion, this past Sunday, we crowned two champions here in the Mountain East Conference, both on the men's and women's basketball side. We will talk with the player from both sides. We'll first start with Will Yoakum from West Liberty. Then we'll transition to the women's basketball side. We are joined by Markyia McCormick later on in the program as well. Hi, everyone. Welcome into episode 14 of MEC Roundup. I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy, and thank you all for joining me on this episode. You can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 for all the latest about this podcast. Go on our website at mountaineast.org as well. We can find all the previous episodes as well, along with player stats, standings, whatever it may be. I guarantee you we got it. So without further ado, let's dive right into episode 14 as we recap championship weekend here at the Mountain East Conference up in Wheeling at West Banco Arena. And like I said, let's start on the men's basketball side, and we're pleased to be joined by West Liberty's very own Mr. Will Yoakum. Will, welcome to the program.
Taylor, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and talking about the tournament with me.
Absolutely. Well, as I told you before, but just for people that don't know, you must be on cloud nine right now, my man.
Yeah, it definitely feels good. It feels good, but I feel like, the job kind of isn't really finished and we still have lots more to play for. But it definitely feels good to win those 3 games back to back to back.
We'll talk about the NCAA tournament here in a few minutes because you guys did qualify for that, being with the automatic bid as well. But let's talk a little bit about your recovery process, because for people that don't know, you've had a very windy path to get to where you are today here on March 8th as we are recording. But for people that may know or may not know, talk about this recovery process with you. You've had 3 different knee surgeries, all dealing with the meniscus. But for people that may not know the whole story about this recovery process for you, what have these last months been like for you? How has it affected you mentally? We'll dive into all that, but just start there. How has this recovery process been for you?
It hasn't been easy, to be honest. I honestly didn't know if I was going to play this year or not, with my second injury happening right before the season. But it's definitely, I'm kind of proud how I handled it. I never really got down on myself, and my teammates and coaches and the athletic training staff did a really good job with me and kind of getting prepared. So eventually end up playing this year. But like I said, I didn't know if I was going to play this year, and kind of, made me put some things in perspective. But I knew once I got back on the court, I was going to be ready to play. And it kind of, I never really lost confidence in myself.
It's interesting you say that, because I feel like whenever an athlete goes through not 1, but not 2, but 3 different surgeries that would have to affect them mentally. But you just mentioned how, you stayed strong-minded, you stayed level-headed as well. So what went into that? I mean, I know that would have done a lot of self-reflection, but, whenever you truly look at it, how were you able to stay so level-minded through it all?
Just being around the team. I know we were up here during Christmas break, and we were up here, just the team and the coaches, and that was kind of rough for me just because I was, watching practice every day, and I missed it a lot. I knew I was making the right steps towards coming back after my surgery, and I was just able to shoot. I couldn't run yet, but I wanted to get back so bad. I mean, I missed playing so much, and sometimes I would sit during practice and kind of just be itching to come back. But it was definitely important that I stayed in it mentally. Talking to my coaches, talking to my athletic trainers every day kind of helped me with that. And I knew kind of after the first couple weeks of my surgery, the most recent one, that I was going to be able to come back and play just based on how it felt. I was walking on it. I wasn't using crutches. I didn't use a brace. I was walking on it normal after a couple weeks of having the surgery. So by that time, the first month and a half came around, I was almost like I was shooting jump shots. I wasn't moving laterally, but I was shooting jump shots and, staying in the weight room. So that definitely helped me a lot, was just doing the work that I knew I could do, being, lifting weights, shooting every day. That helped me a lot mentally.
Let's talk a little bit about your coaches. And obviously coaches as you've mentioned already, and along with your teammates, your coaches have been very, very influential in just trying to help you, get through the recovery process and get you back onto the court as well. But when you look at the help that they've provided for you over these last few months, how helpful have they been through it all?
They've been good. They never lost confidence in me. They did a really good job of kind of keeping my spirits up and telling me, when you come back, we're gonna need you and all this stuff. And they did a really good job with that. And as a player, that's all you can ask for. Um, Even when I came back and kind of got in the swing of things, it was pretty noticeable that I was kind of ready to play. But the coaches did a really good job with me, like easing me into practice and not rushing things. But it was testament to them because they said all the right things and did all the right things for me to be able to come back.
So by looking at your numbers this season, you were able to appear in 9 of the last 10 games leading up to that championship game. So that was the ninth game that you had appeared in, and you've also started in the last 4 games as well. So are you feeling better? Are you getting back to your normal self? Because obviously it seemed like you were with that two-handed slam you had against Charleston. So I guess now is just trying to just trying to get back to the old Will Yoakum. It seems like.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I'm kind of getting back there. I feel like I still have a little bit to go to get my legs back. But nothing like playing 3 games in 3 days to help you get your legs back. But yeah, I definitely feel good. I mean, in games it's a little different because I feel like there's a lot of we have a lot of media timeouts and a lot of stoppages in play for me to like kind of get my win back. But I didn't really feel like I was too out of shape coming back. I did like I said, the athletic training staff did a really good job with me up here, trying to get my legs back and my wind when I first started playing in practice.
I mean, you came onto the scene after just being out for a few months, and then obviously trying to ease your way back into the game plan. But you had a few games where you had single digits, 3 of your first 4 were that. But then you play Notre Dame, you play Wheeling again, and you play Fairmont in the semifinals. And I guess you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I would assume you had 2 bowls of Wheaties that day because you had 25 points, ended up shooting 5 of 7 from 3. Am I correct when I say that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like I said, the coaches did a really good job with kind of easing me in, and there were honestly some times where when I came back originally, it was tough for me to kind of sit on the bench and be dressed and warm up and not play. And I had a couple conversations with my coach, and he explained the situation to me and how he wanted kind of ease me in, and he wanted to make sure I felt comfortable out there. Um, it wasn't easy for me to hear that because I'm a perfectionist and I want to play right away. And if I feel like I can play, I want to play a lot. But they did a good job with that. And then yeah, the second game kind of felt that we played Notre Dame on senior night, and I played the most minutes I played all year. And I think that was the first game where I really felt I was getting my legs underneath me and hit a couple shots early. And like you said, the game against Fairmont, it was a good moment for me, and my teammates and all my coaches did a good job of telling me how proud they were of me, and my teammates also did a good job of finding me in the corner when I was wide open.
That's awesome that you're saying that just because it's just so empowering to hear, the comeback story that you had after, 3 knee surgeries, all dealing with the meniscus, and then you put 25 up on the board in the semifinal game. So you guys win that game. You go into the next day against Charleston. Let's talk about it. So that was a hard-fought game, just going back and forth between the two of you all. Looking at it, it was just very competitive in the aspect that both teams were wanting to win, but then you really look down at the numbers and you look down at what happened game scenario wise. You guys only held Charleston to 1 field goal over the final 4.5 minutes of the game. So obviously something had to have been said, something had to have been done differently. Talk about those last few minutes for you all. I mean, obviously, you know, defensive scheming was probably different for you all, if I had to assume, but walk us through that. What was that final 4.5 minutes like for you all?
Pretty much, we did a really good job of guarding the paint well. We knew that they're a great team and very disciplined. And they like to run their sets. So we knew, not to fall asleep on defense, and make sure we had help on McManus on the backside post, for the lob. And I thought Victor and Bryce and they did a great job of guarding him, just one in the paint. Even with some foul trouble, I thought they did a good job of that. But we didn't really switch anything up. We just kind of were a little more locked in on the defensive end the last 4 minutes. And, it kind of led to us, getting some buckets in transition and, kind of stopping them from beating us in the paint like they were in the first half.
You guys don't shoot a tremendous percentage from three. You guys only shot 18% from three in the game, but you guys ended up shooting 41% from the field. Obviously, you guys realized late in that game that the 3-point shot was not falling for you all, so you guys took a different approach to it. So, at what point did you all realize that, okay, we need to sort of ease off of that and then, approach a different dynamic to try and win this game?
I don't know if we really like eased off of it, but they definitely did a good job of guarding us on the 3-point line, and not helping off shooters. I think we only hit three threes that game, and I think Victor had them all. The one that he hit in the second half was huge for us. But I just think, just coming down to us running our offense and kind of just getting whatever shot was available right away. I don't think 3-pointers were really available that much to us. They were a little bit in the first half, but not really in the second half. And we were kind of getting some things down low and, getting back cuts and stuff like that. So that's kind of where our offense was going that point in the game.
Obviously, talking about how you all were able to respond in that game is always crucial because at one point, UC led by as much as 7 points in that game, and then obviously, well, no, excuse me, 8, and that was at the
Mhm.
13:43 mark, and then here you all come, and then from there it's just neck and neck. So obviously, you like what you've been saying as well. The coaches are trying to ease you into the game plan as well. But how were you able to contribute in a way that you didn't really expect at first, but then ultimately, whenever you guys won the game, you're just like, okay, I'm pleased with not only how I played, but also how the team played.
Um, that's a good question. I would say I was very pleased with like how we play on defense as a whole, and we didn't really panic, like you said, when we were down by 8 points. We like to score a lot of points, so we did a good job of getting a couple quick buckets, and ultimately our defense is the one that won us the game. And I was really proud of our effort on defense, and this was a whole team effort. I thought we did a good job. We had guys step up. Victor did a great job down the stretch, playing with 4 fouls. But I was definitely proud of how we played, and also obviously how I played. And I felt like I could have done a little more. Maybe made that dunk at the end. It didn't slip out of my hand, but maybe just lay it in next time.
Yeah, of course. You live and you learn. You live and you
Yeah,
learn,
yeah.
obviously. But so obviously, you guys did not win last season. You guys did not win the MEC title last season. You guys fell short to Fairmont State 100-97. So how good was it to avenge last season's disappointing loss to Fairmont in the MEC title game and get one again for the Hilltoppers?
It's a great feeling. I had a similar feeling. 2 years ago in 2019, we won it the first time, or the one seed ever won it. And then the year before that was my first year playing, my freshman year. We lost to Notre Dame in the championship, and I remember that was just a terrible feeling, losing that game, making it the whole weekend and losing to Notre Dame. I didn't want that to ever happen again. It was probably one of my least favorite losses since I've been at West Liberty. And we were able to come back next year and win it. And then the COVID shut down the tournament. But it's great to, kind of get over that hump again. It feels like, and win the weekend.
Couple more, and obviously we got to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is you all earning the 2 seed in the NCAA Division II basketball tournament. Obviously, you guys made a strong case to potentially host the Atlantic region, but eventually it was given to Indiana, PA, the 1 seed. So you guys will play a familiar opponent in your guys' first round game at IUP, and that is West Virginia State. And when you look at playing a team that you've played in the regular season, now being able to play them in a national tournament, I would assume that, scheming for them may not be different, but adjustments are going to be huge in this game against the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, they're a good team. They played us tough the both times we played them. I don't know how many adjustments we're gonna make. Honestly, we haven't really talked about it yet, but we'll be ready to play, and we know they'll be ready to play. It'll be a pretty competitive game, up and down. And like you're saying with IUP hosting it, that's just a little extra motivation for us. We played there my freshman year, would have been 2018, and we made it to the Sweet 16. So we feel like we have pretty good experience playing on that court, and we've been there before. It's a nice place to play. I don't mind it. Stay in a nice hotel, so it's good living down there. We don't really mind it. It'd be nice to play here, but you know we'll be ready.
Now, are you expecting a big turnout from the West Liberty fan base?
Yeah, we always get a good turnout. They'll be ready to go, sitting behind our bench. But I think a lot of them already bought their tickets and booked their hotels, and there'll be a good amount of people there wearing black and yellow.
What's it been like for you? Just, I mean, obviously, you mentioned how the COVID situation 2 years ago, which, quite frankly, let me ask you that before we ask the other question. Has it really felt like 2 years for you? Because, quite frankly, I feel like I've aged 8 years since the beginning of COVID. You may have a different answer to that, but does it feel like 2 years since we got into this whole situation with COVID-19?
Yeah, it's definitely been. It feels like it's been a long time since 2019 when it shut down. And just going through everything with last year, hosting it and having to drive down to Ogilvy every day, every morning at 7 or 8 a.m. just to test and wait there for the results. It's definitely been a grind, and like you said, I feel like it's been 6 years, but it's definitely something that we've overcome, and we did a lot with it last year during the Elite Eight, testing and everything and traveling. But it's nice to finally have it kind of clear up for a little bit right now, and let fans back in the building. It's gonna be fun during March to have all our fans back there.
Yeah, what's that been like for you? I mean, obviously, you missed a lot of last season as well, but you've been able to play 9 games this season. What's it been like for you just being able to play in front of the West Liberty faithful?
Oh, it's awesome. I love playing in front of our fans. They're great. They're real fans. They're not just there to watch their kid play or their cousin or something. They live in West Liberty, and they come down to watch us play as a whole team, and they know everyone by first name, and they're always talking to you after the games, and it's very fun to play in front of them, and it's something I'm gonna remember for a while.
Well, Will, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Good luck in the NCAA tournament, and we will talk soon.
Thanks, Taylor. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We just spoke with West Liberty's Will Yoakum. Now let's go on the women's basketball side. Where we are pleased to be joined by the University of Charleston's very own Markyia McCormick. Markyia, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now
Yeah.
I'll ask you the same question as I did Will. I would assume that you are living on cloud nine just a few days after you guys beat the #1 team in the country.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really exciting. I'm just been smiles all day.
Now, let me ask you this. So, whenever you first got done, what was your initial reaction to the whole thing? We'll talk about the game itself, but let's start there. Whenever you heard the buzzer go off, you saw your team won 80-77. What was your initial reaction?
It was really just unbelievable to me. It kind of took me a while to even run on the court. Um, Even now, it's just super surreal. I haven't won in a while, so just knowing that we got that big game and was able to complete an upset at such a big moment in the season, it was just super surreal.
I would assume that, leading into that game, I mean, obviously the #1 team in the country, you all along with Fairmont are pretty much the only two teams in the regular season that pretty much, you know, held Glenville State to a certain standard compared to everybody else. But what was it like just to be able to, like you said, get that win and then be a part of a team that's now won back-to-back MEC titles?
Yeah, it means so much. We worked super hard in preseason and just every day in practice. It's always nice to see the work that you put in have such an outcome that it does. And as far as being back to back, this is my first one, but I'm just happy that my other teammates, the returners, were able to get two in a row, and especially our seniors able to get that win on their last season.
So when you look at that game as a junior, I mean, obviously you've played a lot of basketball in your life, but what do you think ultimately helped you all defeat the Pioneers?
We just came together. Like I said, in a couple of other interviews, it's really just listening to Coach T and Coach Bub, and doing what we're told, following the game plan and just trusting in each other. I think based off the last time we played Glenville at home, we saw how close we could get, and we knew it would really take a fight. But as long as we stayed together, we definitely could get the win. I think we're capable of anything when we come together.
You guys trailed by 5 going into the break, 36 to 41 to 36, I should say. Was there something specific that Coach Tiana Kelly said to you all in the locker room, or was it just something where you guys just stepped up to the plate and said, "Okay, let's go play the best of the best"?
Yeah, I think we all knew that we were fine. To be within 5, with number 1 ranked team is huge and such a big game. We knew we were fine. Like I said, we just had to go out together and do what we were told, and everything was gonna be fine. We weren't too worried in the locker room.
You had a slow start to the game, but I think a lot of the reason why you were so successful early on in that game is because your defense stepped up. When you looked at your defense in that game, you took a charge early in the game as well. But when you look back at what you did defensively, we'll obviously talk about your offensive game here in just a second. But early on, I would assume that your defense, you definitely had to step up your defense, knowing the fact that you were off to a slow start.
Yeah, of course. I, as a player, I like to expand on a lot of other parts of the game. Everybody talks about playing both sides of the floor, and Coach Bub talked to me. He sat me down and just told me that right now to do anything that I can to help the team. If my scoring's not going well, then figure out other ways to make an impact. And defense is, of course, a top a top reason to step up. And so I took on that role.
We'll talk about your team here in just a second, but you finished the game with 19 points, shooting 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 6 from three. How did you see yourself rebound from such a slow start and then eventually end the game with 19 points?
Um, just not getting my head down. As I mature, I've grown to know that you have to have short-term memory in the game of basketball. It's one play at a time, and even the last play isn't as important as the next one to come. I had a lot of game left, and just had to be myself on the court. The game will come to me, and I allowed it to, and the results were great.
You guys outscored Glenville State 44 to 36 in the second half. Looking at what went differently offensively for the team in the second half compared to the first half, what do you think that was?
Uh, we definitely did better on rebounding. And I think honestly, our defense and converting offensively played a big role. I also think we were super patient. I went back and watched the game, and we didn't take as many quick shots, and we didn't let Glenville speed our offense up, and that helped a lot for sure.
You guys forced 10 Glenville State turnovers, and you guys converted 12 points into 10 of those turnovers. So yeah, I can definitely understand that aspect of it as well. Going now to the end of the game, we've already talked about the emotions following the buzzer going off, but before I remember watching this because I remember you all were on the sidelines about ready to go and get your championship trophy. Now, did I see a few of you all trying gritty? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, we be doing the gritty. It's also a part of my, I guess, walkout. I gritty with Shamaya. That's the dance that we do.
Now, one of the assistant coaches also did that as well. He looked like he got it. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm no dancing critic or dancing judge, but he got it.
yeah, Coach Bub has it. He wanted us to help him perfect it, and I think he perfected it at a good time, especially if they caught it on camera.
Now I have to ask: has it soaked in at the fact that you were a part of a team that won an MEC title?
I'm still kind of sitting here and really thinking about it. I was in class today, just in my head, like, wow, I'm a champion. It feels good. We have a lot of game left though, so trying not to just, I guess, focus too much on it and stay focused for what's ahead.
Well, you did a great job in transitioning where I was going to go with this because now you guys are in the sixth seed in the NCAA Division II women's basketball tournament, and you guys are the sixth seed in the Atlantic region. So your first game is against Kutztown. And looking at, you mentioned how you've watched the championship game against Glenville. Now you guys are preparing for a March 11th matchup, which is this Friday. When you look at preparation, is there going to be more film of watching, obviously your opposing team that you're playing, but also looking back at what you all did good and just trying to apply that, or is there something else that's going to help you all prepare for this first round matchup?
I think there's definitely a balance between the two. Film is always important. I think it's also super important to know what you do well, and I'm not sure how similar the team that we play in Glenville are, but I don't know. I think what we saw in the Glenville game is that if we stick together, we can get big wins, and I imagine that we'll carry that into the tournament. A lot of film for sure, a lot of practice, and just sticking to what we know and being ourselves as a team.
You transferred into the program from an out-of-state school, but being able to be a new face on a new team, being able to contribute at a high rate for this Golden Eagles team, how special is it for you just to be able to play each and every day? And then again, we keep talking about it, winning this MEC title with a group of girls that you've only known for a short amount of time.
Yeah, it means a lot to know that my game is respected, especially as a newcomer. It means a lot. I put a lot of work in. I've been playing basketball for a while, so it's really good to see it all come to fruition.
So what attracted you about the University of Charleston? I mean, obviously they've been very good. I mean, they've been good now in the first 2 years under Coach Tiana Kelly. But what really attracted you about coming to the University of Charleston?
Definitely just the family environment. Um, I wanted a genuine relationships with the people I play with and the people I'm coached by, and I felt like the talks that I had with Coach T and Coach Bub and some of the players were extremely genuine. I fell in love with the campus and the people around it, and yeah, it made my decision pretty easy.
Couple more, and again, you're a newcomer in the league that is very successful both in the men's and women's basketball side. But you've seen the men play. You've been able to play against some of the best competition in Division II basketball, especially with Glenville State being at the top. But what are your general impressions of the Mountain East Conference now that you have completed not only a regular season, but you've also gotten through a conference tournament?
Yeah, I think it's great competition. I don't really know what I expected, but it wasn't this. I think people need to put a lot of respect on the Division II level and even the levels under that. Coming from Division I, I really saw no difference. I think the talent is definitely there, especially in the MEC, and I'm enjoying it.
Now, as Coach T, as you all call her, does Coach T and her assistant coaches go out there and whenever you guys are doing like a five man shell, or you guys are scrimmaging, will they lace up? I assume they would probably lace up and go run up and down with you all.
Yeah, they do lace up. They lace up. Yes.
That we'll just leave it at that. You just want to leave it
Yeah, they lace up.
okay, well, people have their moments. I understand. But so let's stay on the line of the coaches, and you could talk about any of the coaches. You could talk about all of them, one of them, however you want to do it. But how helpful have they been over these last few months? Again, you're a newcomer on a team that you've only been with for a few months now. But how helpful have they been throughout this whole process?
Extremely helpful. Just allowing me to be myself in the program as a newcomer, I think, was huge. They were patient with me and I guess my journey to figure out the ropes of the team. It took me a while to kind of get used to the style of play and what was necessary for the team to get wins, but the patience was there and it was effective.
And then finally, looking at this first round matchup, we've already talked about a little bit of the preparation work, obviously, but in your eyes, you know, what's going to go into you all upsetting yet another team and advancing on to the second round of this NCAA tournament?
It's going to take a lot of heart and just sticking together. We're a team for a reason. I think if all of us stay focused on the end goal and go out there and put our best out on the floor each game, every minute of the game, then we'll be totally fine.
Well, Markyia, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Congratulations yet again on winning an MEC title with the University of Charleston women's basketball team. and good luck in the NCAA tournament.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. That will conclude episode 14 of MEC Roundup with our two guests, Will Yoakum and Markyia McCormick as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 for all the latest about this podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube as well. Well, the last episode of this series for this season will conclude next episode, episode 15, as we will sit down with the MEC commissioner himself, Mr. Reed Amos, and we will talk everything Mountain East Conference athletics, especially the latest news about the Mountain East Conference staying in with their basketball tournament up and Wheeling as well. You won't want to miss it on the next episode of episode 15 of MEC Roundup. Thank you all for listening, and stay safe.